You're a stain on our name, Serena. Margaret Caldwell's voice sliced through the crowded ballroom, her diamond necklace flashing like a guillotine. Serena Duval stood frozen, her fists clenched so tight her knuckles ached. The billionaire matriarch loomed, her pale face twisted with contempt. A black girl from Brooklyn thinks she can claim the Caldwell legacy? The room, packed with New York's elite, erupted in cruel chuckles. Serena's jaw tightened, her pulse hammering. Margaret stepped closer, her heels stabbing the marble floor. You were Ethan's mistake, nothing more. Serena opened her mouth, but Margaret cut her off. Don't speak. You don't belong here. The words landed like a whip, each syllable dripping with venom. Ethan, her husband, stood steps away, his eyes glued to the floor. His silence burned worse than the insults. Guests whispered, their smirks sharp as knives. Gold digger, one hissed. Charity case, another sneered. Serena's throat constricted, but her spine stayed rigid. She wouldn't crumble. Not here. Margaret leaned in, her breath cold. Leave, or I'll make sure you're nothing. The crowd parted as Margaret gestured to security. Serena's fingers brushed the pearl necklace Ethan gave her, now a weight around her neck. Cameras flashed, capturing her every flinch. Go back to where you came from, a guest muttered. The room spun, but Serena locked eyes with Margaret, her gaze a silent vow. She took a step back, not in defeat, but in defiance. This wasn't the end. It was the spark of a fire they'd soon regret igniting. What would Serena do with that fire? The answer waited in the shadows. Serena Duval's heels struck the marble floor, each step a defiance against the venom still ringing in her ears. Margaret's words, "You don't belong here," clawed at her chest, but her jaw clenched tight, refusing tears. The crowd's smirks burned her skin, their whispers like shards of glass. She felt Ethan's silence behind her, a betrayal heavier than the pearl necklace choking her throat. Security flanked her, their hands hovering, but Serena's gaze stayed locked on the exit, her spine a steel rod. She wouldn't break, not for them. A guest sneered, "Back to the slums, darling?" Serena stopped dead. Her pulse roared, but her voice was ice. You'll choke on those words one day. The room hushed, their smug faces faltering. Margaret's laugh cut through, sharp and cruel. Bold for a nobody, she spat. Serena turned, her eyes blazing into Margaret's. Nobody, she said low and lethal. Watch me become your reckoning. The matriarch's smirk twitched, a crack in her armor. Serena held her stare, letting the promise sink deep. She pushed through the double doors, cameras flashing like gunfire. Her fingers gripped the pearl necklace, Ethan's gift, now a symbol of her scars. Serena, wait! Ethan's voice cracked behind her, desperate, but she didn't turn. His cowardice had sealed their fate. Outside, the city's pulse thrummed, matching her own. Her fists tightened, nails biting her palms. They thought they'd crushed her, left her with nothing. But nothing was fuel. She'd build an empire from their ashes, make them beg for mercy they'd never shown her. Serena's lips curled, not a smile, but a vow etched in fire. Their laughter would turn to fear. She'd see to it. Ethan Caldwell's fingers trembled as he clutched a crumpled newspaper in the dim light of his office. Serena's words, "Watch me become your reckoning," echoed like a blade in his skull. He'd stood silent while his mother, Margaret, tore her apart, and now her prophecy gnawed at him. The headline stared back. Caldwell Properties faces financial strain. Below it, an old article by Serena, penned before their marriage, dissected their company's reckless land deals with surgical precision. She'd warned of cracks in their empire, cracks now splitting wide open. His stomach churned. Had they underestimated her? Margaret burst in, her pearls clinking like chains. "Stop moping, Ethan," she snapped, her voice a whip. He thrust the article at her. She was right, Mother. Serena saw this coming. Margaret's eyes narrowed, her lips a thin slash. She's nothing, a nobody. But her fingers twitched as she snatched the paper, scanning it. Her face paled, just for a second, before she tossed it aside. Coincidence, she hissed. Ethan's jaw tightened. Or brilliance. Margaret's glare could have cracked stone, but he didn't back down. Her certainty wavered, a hairline fracture in her iron facade. Ethan's phone buzzed, shattering the tension. An email from an unknown sender. Your stock is bleeding. Someone's buying. Watch your back. His pulse spiked. Margaret grabbed the phone, her nails digging into her palm. Who sent this? She demanded. Ethan shook his head, but his mind raced to Serena. Could she be the shadow behind this? Margaret's voice dropped, cold as ice. Find out, or we lose everything. Ethan nodded, his throat dry. Serena's fire was no longer just a memory. It was a threat they couldn't ignore. Something was coming, and it wore her name. Serena was never a nobody. Ethan Caldwell's voice cracked, slamming his fist on the mahogany desk. His mother, Margaret, flinched, her pearls clinking like a warning. Enough, Ethan, she barked, her eyes blazing. She's gone. Let her rot. But Ethan's chest burned, Serena's words, watch me become your reckoning, carving into his soul. That newspaper article, her razor-sharp analysis of their crumbling empire, haunted him. She'd seen their downfall coming, and he'd let Margaret crush her. Guilt clawed his insides, sharp as broken glass. He shoved past Margaret, her protest slicing the air. I'm finding her! Ethan stormed into New York's underbelly, his tailored suit out of place in Brooklyn's gritty streets. Serena's old apartment was empty, the landlord shrugging. She left years ago, climbed up, I hear. Ethan's jaw tightened, his fingers clutching the article's crumpled edge. He tracked down her old editor, Clara, at a dive bar. Serena's a ghost now, Clara said, her eyes narrowing. Started some finance gig. Smarter than all of you. Ethan's pulse spiked. Finance? Serena? Clara slid him a business card, Duval Ventures, no address. Good luck, she sneered. You don't deserve her. At Caldwell Properties, Margaret raged. You're chasing a shadow, she snapped, intercepting Ethan's call to a private investigator. Her nails dug into her palms, drawing blood. She's nothing. But Ethan's eyes burned. She's everything we're not. He dug deeper, finding a news clip. Serena at a charity event, poised, commanding, surrounded by investors. His throat tightened. She'd rebuilt herself. A file on his desk caught his eye. A leaked board memo about a silent buyer, snapping up Caldwell shares. Initials. SD. His heart stopped. Was this her? Margaret's voice hissed. Stop this or you'll ruin us. Ethan ignored her, his fingers trembling as he dialed the investigator. Find Serena Duval, now. Each lead pulled him closer to a truth he wasn't ready for. Serena wasn't hiding, she was hunting, and her shadow was growing larger. Serena Duval's fingers danced across her laptop, her eyes blazing with focus. Keep pushing, she snapped, her voice a blade cutting through the hum of her Brooklyn office. Her team, young, diverse, hungry, nodded, their screens glowing with stock charts. Duval Ventures wasn't just a startup, it was a war room. Serena's jaw clenched as she reviewed a report. 45% of Caldwell Properties shares secured through shell companies. Her pulse thrummed, each percentage point a step toward crushing the Caldwells. The pearl necklace, Ethan's cursed gift, lay on her desk, a reminder of their betrayal. She wouldn't wear it, not yet. Ms. Duval! A young analyst, Kesha, burst in, her hands shaking. They denied my sister's loan again. Same bank, same excuse. Serena's gaze softened, but her voice stayed steel. Call them. Tell them Duval Ventures backs her. They'll fold. Kesha's eyes widened, gratitude flashing. Serena turned back to her screen, her fingers tightening. She'd built this firm to lift up those the Caldwells crushed. People like Kesha's sister, like her younger self. Every deal she closed was a brick in her empire, a dagger aimed at Margaret's heart. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Caldwell Properties stock dips again. Serena's lips curled, sharp as a blade. She'd orchestrated the dip, leaking their bad deals to investors. Her team didn't know the full plan, but they trusted her fire. We're almost there, she told them, her voice low, lethal. No mercy for those who showed none. Kesha hesitated. You're scaring them, Miss Duval. Serena's eyes locked on hers. Good. Fear means they're watching. She stood pacing, her heels clicking like gunfire. The Caldwells thought they'd buried her, but she was clawing through their foundation. Soon they'd see her shadow wasn't just rising, it was swallowing them whole. You betrayed me, Ethan. Serena Duvall's voice sliced through the dim Brooklyn cafe, her eyes blazing like twin flames. Ethan Caldwell stood across from her, his hands trembling, tie askew. Her words from that night, "Watch me become your reckoning," still seared his conscience. He'd tracked her here, past her empire's walls, chasing a ghost who'd outgrown him. Serena's fingers gripped the table, knuckles whitening. The pearl necklace sat in her purse, untouched, a relic of his broken vows. "I'm sorry," Ethan choked out, his voice raw. "I failed you." Serena's laugh was a shard of ice. "Sorry doesn't undo your silence." She leaned forward, her gaze pinning him like a blade. "You let Margaret call me nothing. You stood there." Ethan flinched, his shoulders sagging. "I was weak," he admitted, voice cracking. "But I see you now, Serena. Duvall Ventures. Your name's everywhere." Her jaw tightened, rage flickering. "You don't get to admire me now," she snapped. "You want forgiveness? Earn it." Ethan's eyes widened, pleading. "How?" Serena's voice dropped, lethal. "Give me the truth about Caldwell Properties. Everything." He hesitated, then slid a USB drive across the table. "Financial record," he said low. "Their deals, their debts." Serena's fingers closed around it, her pulse hammering. She plugged it into her laptop, her team's warnings echoing. Fear means they're watching. A file loaded. Ledgers, shady contracts. Then a hidden email chain caught her eye. "Margaret to Raymond 2012, it read. "Bury the Brooklyn land deal. No one can know." Her breath caught. A scandal. Land stolen from a black community. Families displaced for profit. Ethan's face paled. "I didn't know," he whispered. Serena's eyes burned. "You'll help me expose this, or you're nothing to me." He nodded, broken. She stood, clutching the USB. The Caldwell secrets were hers now, and their empire would bleed for it. "You're digging your own grave, Serena." Raymond Caldwell's voice snarled across the boardroom, his fist slamming the polished table. Serena's name burned his tongue, a reminder of the black ex-wife they'd buried years ago. As COO of Caldwell Properties, Raymond 50, with a predator's smirk and eyes like cold steel, stood towering over the executives. His tailored suit couldn't hide the venom pulsing through him. Serena's shadow, Duvall Ventures, was swallowing their stock, now at 45%. Her reckoning, promised in that cursed gala, was no longer a whisper. It was a blade at their throat. Margaret, seated at the table's head, gripped her pen, her knuckles white. "She's a pest," she hissed, but Raymond cut her off. "She's a threat." His glare swept the room, silencing nervous murmurs. "This nobody thinks she can steal our legacy?" His laugh was sharp, jagged. He'd found her name in a shareholder report, SD, the silent buyer. His fingers twitched, itching to crush her. "She's black, broke, and out of her league," he spat, his words slicing like razors. The executives flinched, but none dared speak. Raymond leaned forward, his voice dropping to a growl. "I've got dirt on her. Old articles, rumors, enough to bury her again." He tossed a file onto the table, papers spilling like blood. Inside, a forged document tied Serena to a fake fraud scandal. "Spread it," he ordered. "Ruin her." Margaret's eyes gleamed, but her jaw tightened. "What if she's deeper in?" she muttered. Raymond's smirk widened. "Then we play dirtier." He'd known about the Brooklyn land deal, the families displaced, the bribes. If Serena was sniffing around, he'd make sure she choked on it. His phone buzzed, a cryptic text. "She's closer than you think." Raymond's pulse spiked. Serena wasn't just coming, she was already here. "Raymond's playing dirty, Serena," Layla's voice hissed, her fingers flying across her laptop in Duvall Ventures' cramped back room. Serena Duvall's jaw clenched, her pulse hammering as she stared at the USB drive Ethan had handed her, its secrets burning her palm. The email from 2012, "Bury the Brooklyn land deal," was a live wire, sparking fury. She'd seen the forged fraud allegations Raymond leaked online, smearing her name. Her fists tightened, nails biting skin. "He thinks he can bury me again?" she growled, her voice ablade. "Not this time." Layla's screen flashed with hacked data. Bank transfers, city permits, names tied to Caldwell properties. "They paid off officials," Layla said, her eyes wide. "Displaced 50 families for that high-rise." Serena's chest burned, memories of her own Brooklyn roots flooding back. Her mother's eviction, her community's scars. She slammed her hand on the desk. "Get me proof." Layla nodded, diving deeper into encrypted files. Serena paced, her heels clicking like a countdown. The pearl necklace, Ethan's old gift, sat untouched in her purse, a reminder of the Caldwell's betrayal. She'd turned their lies into her weapon. They tracked down Marcus Tate, a retired city planner, in a rundown diner. His hands shook, clutching a coffee mug. "I warned them," he rasped. "Caldwell's bribes ruined lives." Serena leaned in, her gaze piercing. "Names. Dates. Now." Marcus hesitated, then slid a tattered notebook across. "Check 2012. Councilman Reed. He took the money." Serena's pulse surged. She had a lead. Layla cross-checked the notebook with her data, finding a paper trail. Reed's signature on fraudulent permits. "Got him?" Layla whispered. Serena's lips curled, sharp. "Not enough. We need the source." Back at the office, Raymond's smear campaign hit harder. News outlets ran headlines. "Serena Duvall, fraud or foe?" Her phone buzzed with threats. An anonymous caller hissed, "Back off or you're done." Serena's knuckles whitened, but her voice stayed ice. "Try me," she called Ethan, her words cutting. "Your cousin's desperate. What's he hiding?" Ethan's voice cracked. "I don't know, but I'm in." He sent her a stolen board memo. Raymond's plan to sell Caldwell properties to a shady offshore firm. Serena's eyes narrowed. "He's covering tracks." Layla dug deeper, uncovering a deleted email from Raymond to Reed. "Burn the records. She's close." Serena's breath caught. The Brooklyn deal wasn't just a scandal. It was a crime, and Raymond was its architect. She'd bought 50% of their shares now, inching closer to control. Her fingers gripped the USB, her resolve steel. The Caldwells would face her fire, and it was only growing hotter. "They stole everything." Serena Duvall's voice cracked like a whip, her fist slamming the desk in Duvall Ventures' back room. Her eyes burned as she stared at the laptop, Layla's screen glowing with damning evidence. The email from Raymond to Councilman Reed, "Burn the records," unlocked a Pandora's box. Serena's pulse thundered, her knuckles white as she gripped the tattered notebook from Marcus Tate. It wasn't just a land deal. The Caldwells had orchestrated a calculated theft, seizing Brooklyn homes from black families for their high-rise empire. Her mother's eviction flashed in her mind. Same pain, same scars. Layla's fingers trembled, pulling up a hidden file, a 2012 contract signed by Margaret and Raymond, funneling bribes to Reed for forged permits. 50 families displaced, their savings gutted, their futures erased for profit. "They buried it," Layla whispered, her voice shaking. "Millions stolen, lives ruined." Serena's jaw clenched, rage boiling. "They thought no one would dig." She scrolled further, finding a memo. Raymond planned to sell Caldwell properties to an offshore firm, wiping the scandal clean before Serena could expose it. Her breath caught, sharp as a blade. "He's running." She called Marcus again, her voice steel. "You knew more. Talk." His words came fast, broken. Raymond threatened whistleblowers, paid cops to silence them. Serena's fist tightened, nails biting skin. The pearl necklace in her purse felt heavier, a chain linking her to this fight. She'd bought 50% of their shares, but this truth was her real weapon. "We've got them," she told Layla, her eyes glinting. "This ends at their gala." Layla nodded, her fingers already encrypting their evidence. Serena stood, her resolve iron. The Caldwells hadn't just scorned her, they'd crushed communities. Their empire would crumble under the weight of their own sins. "You'll never touch our empire, Serena," Raymond Caldwell's voice roared, his fist slamming the desk in his sleek office. Serena Duvall stood unflinching, her eyes blazing like molten steel. The truth she'd uncovered, the Brooklyn land theft, the bribes, the displaced families, burned in her chest. Her fingers twitched, clutching the USB drive with damning evidence from Ethan. Raymond's sneer twisted, his suit straining as he leaned forward. "A black nobody like you? You're out of your depth." His words sliced, echoing Margaret's scorn from years ago. But Serena's jaw clenched, her pulse hammering with defiance. "You know about the land deal," she shot back, her voice a blade. Raymond's eyes narrowed, cutting her off. "You know nothing." He stepped closer, his breath hot, venomous. "Keep digging, and you'll disappear." Serena's spine stiffened, but her lips curled, sharp. "Threaten me again, and you'll choke on your own lies." Raymond laughed, cold and jagged, his hand darting to his phone. "You're done," he hissed, texting a contact. Her phone buzzed, a warning from Layla. "They're tailing you." Serena's knuckles whitened, but her gaze never wavered. That night, shadows moved in a dark alley as Serena left her office. Two men emerged, their fists clenched, eyes glinting with malice. "Back off, Duval," one growled, swinging a pipe. Serena ducked, her heart pounding, and kicked his knee, sending him sprawling. The second lunged, but Layla's car screeched in, headlights blinding. "Get in!" Layla shouted. Serena dove inside, her breath ragged, nails biting her palms. "Raymond's desperate," she spat, her resolve iron. Layla's eyes widened. "He's scared." Serena nodded, clutching the USB tighter. The Caldwell's empire was cracking, and she'd pry it open with their own sins. "I'm not done yet, Raymond," Serena Duval's voice hissed, her knuckles bruising as she gripped the steering wheel. Her heart pounded, still racing from the alley ambush. Layla's car screeched through Brooklyn's streets, headlights slicing the night. The USB drive, clutched in Serena's hand, held the truth about the Caldwell's Brooklyn land theft. Bribes, forged permits, displaced families. But it wasn't enough. Raymond's threats, "You'll disappear," echoed, fueling her fire. Her jaw clenched, nails biting her palms. "He's scared," Layla said, her voice tight. "Good," Serena shot back, eyes blazing. "Fear means we're close." They pulled into Duval Ventures' back room, Serena's pulse thundering. She slammed the USB into her laptop, Layla's fingers flying across keys. "We need the smoking gun," Serena growled. The email from Raymond to Councilman Reed burned the records. It was a start, but they needed proof that Margaret signed off. Layla hacked deeper, cracking Caldwell's encrypted server. A file flashed up, a 2012 audio recording. Serena's breath caught as Margaret's voice crackled through. "Pay Reed. Silence the families. No one cares about Brooklyn trash." Serena's fists slammed the desk, rage boiling. "That's her," she snarled. "The queen of lies." Serena called Ethan, her voice ice. "You're either with me or against me." Ethan's reply shook. "I'm in." He'd slipped her a keycard to Caldwell Properties archive room, stolen from Raymond's desk. "Midnight," he whispered. "Guards are off." Serena nodded, her resolve steel. She and Layla slipped into the archive, their flashlights cutting shadows. Serena's fingers rifled through dusty files, her pulse spiking with every creak. A locked drawer yielded to Layla's pick, a ledger, Margaret's signature scrawled on a bribe payment. "Jackpot," Layla hissed. Serena's lips curled, sharp. "This ends them." As they exited, a guard's shout froze them. "Stop!" Serena's heart lurched, but she bolted, Layla behind. They dove into the car, tires squealing. Serena clutched the ledger, her eyes glinting. She'd secured 53% of Caldwell shares that morning, her final play. The gala was tomorrow. The Caldwell sins would light her stage. "Your empire's built on stolen blood," Serena Duval's voice thundered, her grip on the microphone tight as a vice. The gala's elite froze, their champagne flutes trembling as her words slashed through the air like a guillotine. Her crimson gown burned under the spotlight, the pearl necklace, Ethan's cursed wedding gift, glinting like a battle scar around her throat. Margaret Caldwell's face crumpled, her hands clawing her chair, pearls snapping and scattering like shattered dreams. Raymond Caldwell, eyes wild with rage, lunged toward the stage. "You're a filthy liar," he roared, his fist shaking. Serena's gaze pierced him, sharp as a blade. "Sit down, Raymond," she snapped. her voice ice-cold steel. The room fell silent, phones flashing like a firing squad. Serena raised the ledger from the archive, its pages heavy with the Caldwell's sins. Caldwell Properties stole Brooklyn homes, she declared, her pulse hammering in her ears. 50 families displaced, their lives crushed for your high-rise empire. Margaret signed the bribes to Councilman Reed. She clicked a remote, and Margaret's voice crackled through the speakers. Pay Reed, silence the families. No one cares about Brooklyn trash. Gasps ripped through the crowd, a tidal wave of shock. Margaret staggered to her feet, her voice breaking. That's forged, she shrieked, her hands trembling, betraying her. Serena's lips curled, lethal. Your own files beg to differ. She tossed the USB drive to a reporter. Its contents, contracts, emails, audio, already flooding online, igniting a firestorm across social media. Raymond charged the stage, his face twisted with venom. You're a nobody, a fraud, he spat, spit flying, his suit straining as he pointed. Serena stood unmoved, her stance iron. I own 53% of your company, she fired back, her words a bullet to his chest. You're finished. The crowd's murmurs erupted into chaos, chairs scraping, voices shouting. Ethan rose, his eyes red, locked on Serena, his mouth opening. Serena, please, he begged, voice cracking. She cut him off, her gaze slicing. You stood silent when they broke me, she hissed. Now watch. She turned to the guests, her voice a rolling thunder. Their legacy is a lie, built on greed, theft, and silence. I'm tearing it down, brick by brick. Reporters swarmed, cameras blinding, their questions a frenzy. Raymond lunged again, his fists swinging wildly, but security pinned him, his screams drowned by the uproar. Margaret collapsed into her chair, sobbing, her empire crumbling in real time. Serena's eyes swept the room, unyielding, her jaw clenched tight. This isn't just revenge, she said, her voice low, searing every soul present. It's justice for those you erased. A reporter shouted, Ms. Duval, what's next? Serena's fingers brushed the pearl necklace, her resolve a blazing inferno. She'd burned their world to ash, but the flames were far from out. The Caldwell's reckoning had begun, and she was its architect. You're a disgrace, Raymond. Serena Duval's voice cut like a blade, her fists slamming the boardroom table. The Caldwell Properties executives froze, their faces pale as Serena stood at the head, her eyes blazing. Raymond Caldwell slumped in his chair, his smirk gone, his hands trembling. Her gala bombshell, exposing the Brooklyn land theft with Margaret's audio and the ledger, had shattered their empire. Serena's pulse thundered, her knuckles white as she clutched the gavel. You're fired, she declared, her words echoing. Face the law for your crimes. Raymond's jaw dropped, his voice a rasp. You can't. She leaned in, her gaze steel. I own you now. Margaret's chair scraped, her pearls clinking as she stood, face ashen. This is our legacy, she hissed, cutting Serena off. Serena's lips curled, sharp. It's mine. The board voted, hands shaking, expelling Raymond. Police waited outside, cuffs gleaming. Serena's voice sliced again. The Brooklyn families get justice today. She slid a document forward. Reparations for the displaced, signed with her name. Raymond lunged, his shout ragged, but guards dragged him out, his curses fading. Margaret collapsed back, her eyes hollow. Serena turned to Ethan, silent in the corner. Speak or stay nothing, she snapped. He whispered, I'm sorry, his face crumbling. Serena's jaw clenched, unmoved. The scandal's knots unraveled, bribes exposed, Reed arrested, Caldwell's name tarnished forever. Serena stood tall, her resolve iron. Justice wasn't just served, it was carved in her name, a warning to those who'd scorned her. You built your empire on stolen lives, Raymond. Serena Duval's voice roared, her fist slamming the boardroom table with a crack that silenced the room. Her eyes blazed like wildfire, pinning Raymond Caldwell to his chair. His smirk vanished, hands trembling, sweat beading on his brow. Serena's gala bombshell, Margaret's audio confessing to bribes, the ledger exposing the Brooklyn land theft, had shattered Caldwell Properties' facade. Her pulse pounded, knuckles white as she gripped the gavel, her 53% ownership ablated at their throats. "You're done," she declared, voice slicing like steel. "Face the law." Raymond lurched forward, his voice a desperate rasp. "You can't take us down." Serena's lips curled, sharp as a razor. "I already have." She turned to the executives, their faces pale, pens shaking. "Vote him out," she commanded. Hands rose one by one, expelling Raymond. His shout cracked. "This is my family." Serena leaned in, her gaze lethal. "Not anymore." Guards stormed in, cuffs gleaming, dragging Raymond out as he cursed, his voice fading into echoes. Serena's jaw clenched, unyielding. Justice for the Brooklyn families wasn't a hope. It was her decree. Margaret stood, her pearls clinking like chains, face drained of blood. "You're destroying our legacy," she hissed, cutting Serena off. Serena's eyes narrowed, unflinching. "Your legacy's built on lies." She slid a document across the table. Reparations for 50 displaced families, signed with her name. Margaret's hands shook, her defiance crumbling. Serena turned to Ethan, slouched in the corner, eyes hollow. "Speak," she snapped, her voice ice. "Or stay nothing." Ethan's whisper broke. "I failed you." Serena's fist tightened, unmoved. The scandal unraveled. Councilman Reed arrested, bribes exposed, Caldwell's name dragged through the mud. Reporters swarmed outside, their questions a storm. Serena stood tall, her resolve iron. The Caldwell's sins were buried, and her justice rose from their ashes, a monument to those they'd scorned. "You built this on stolen lives." Serena Duvall's voice slashed through the press conference, her fist slamming the podium. Her crimson suit burned under the camera flashes, the pearl necklace at her throat gleaming like a war trophy. The crowd, reporters, activists, displaced Brooklyn families, hung on her every word. Raymond was gone, indicted for bribery. Margaret, a broken shadow, had resigned. Serena, now chairwoman of Caldwell Properties, held their empire in her grip. Her pulse thundered, but her gaze was steel. "No more lies," she declared. "We rebuild with truth." She unveiled the Duvall Justice Fund, a $50 million commitment to repay families displaced by the Caldwell's 2012 land theft. Her fingers tightened on the podium, nails biting skin. "Every dollar stolen will be returned," she vowed, her voice ablade. The crowd roared, fists raised, their pain mirrored in her own. Her mother's eviction, her community's scars. She'd turned their ledger of sins into a lifeline. Layla, her analyst, stood beside her, eyes shining with pride. "You're unstoppable," Layla whispered. Serena's lips curled, sharp. "They made me this way." Ethan Caldwell stepped forward, his face gaunt, tie loose. "I was complicit," he confessed, voice cracking. The cameras zoomed in, relentless. "I'm here to atone." Serena's jaw clenched, her eyes piercing him. "Prove it," she snapped. Ethan announced his resignation, redirecting his inheritance to the fund. "For Brooklyn," he said, voice low. Serena didn't flinch, but her fingers brushed the pearl necklace. His old gift, now her symbol of victory. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others skeptical. Ethan's shoulders sagged, but he met Serena's gaze. "I'll keep fighting," he muttered. She nodded once, cold. "You'd better." Serena turned to the families, her voice softening but firm. "This is your home, your justice." She handed a check to Marcus Tate, the retired planner who'd exposed the Caldwells. His hands shook, tears brimming. "You gave us back our voice," he choked. Serena gripped his hand, her resolve iron. "We're just starting." She outlined reforms, transparent hiring, minority-led projects, and no more backroom deals. Caldwell Properties would reflect the city's heart, not its greed. Reporters scribbled, phones flashed. A young girl from the crowd, eyes wide, clutched her mother's hand. "You're like a queen," she said. Serena knelt, her smile fierce. "No, you are." The girl's grin lit up, a spark of hope. Layla leaned in, her voice low. "They're watching, Serena. The world." Serena stood, her heels clicking like gunfire. "Good. Let them see what justice looks like." She'd reshaped an empire, not for revenge, but for redemption. The Caldwell's name was Ash. Hers was fire, burning a path for those they'd crushed. The fight wasn't over. It was a beacon for change. "They'll never silence us again," Serena Duval's voice rang out, her fist raised at the ribbon cutting for Duval Tower, once Caldwell Properties' crown jewel. Her eyes blazed. The pearl necklace, Ethan's old gift, now her emblem of victory, glinting at her throat. Her pulse thundered as she faced the crowd. Brooklyn families once displaced by the Caldwell's greed, now cheering her name. Serena's jaw clenched, her knuckles tight. She'd turned their empire into a beacon, renaming it to bury their legacy. "This is our home," she declared, her words slicing through the air. "Built for us. By us." Layla, now COO, stood beside her, her smile sharp. "You did it," she whispered, handing Serena the scissors. Serena's fingers gripped them, slicing the ribbon clean. The crowd roared, their applause a tidal wave. Marcus Tate, the retired planner, stepped forward, his hands steady for the first time. "You gave us justice," he said, voice cracking. Serena's gaze softened, but her voice stayed steel. "You earned it." She'd funneled millions from the Duval Justice Fund to rebuild their homes, schools, lives. Her chest burned with purpose, not rage. Ethan approached, his tie loose, eyes heavy. "I'm trying," he said low. He joined the fund, working in Brooklyn's streets, facing families he'd failed. Serena's lips curled, not cruel but firm. "Keep trying." She turned away, her heels clicking, resolute. He'd lost her, but he'd gained a mission. Keshia, the young analyst, now led a scholarship program, her sister's business thriving. "You changed everything," Kesha said, her eyes shining. Serena nodded, her resolve iron. "We changed together." Reporters swarmed, their questions sharp. "What's next, Ms. Duval?" one shouted. Serena faced them, her voice clear. "No more empires built on lies. We lift each other." The crowd hushed, phones flashing. She'd rewritten the rules. Diverse hires, transparent deals, no shadows. The Caldwell sins had fueled her fire, but her vision forged a new family. Not blood, but shared fight. Layla handed her a plaque, Duval Tower for Justice. Serena's fingers traced it, her pulse steady. "This is just the start," she said, low, fierce. She stepped back, eyes scanning the crowd, faces like her mother's, her own. The pearl necklace felt light now, no longer a chain. Serena stood taller, her shadow stretching across the city. The lesson wasn't revenge, it was rebuilding, proving no one's born to bow. The Caldwells were a memory, she was the future. Serena Duval's story isn't just about revenge. It's a fire-forged testament to never letting others define your worth. Scorned by the Caldwell clan's venom, she clawed her way from their shadows, seizing their empire and rewriting its sins into justice. Her pearl necklace, once a chain of betrayal, became her crown. The Caldwell's downfall, Raymond's disgrace, Margaret's collapse, Ethan's guilt, proved that power built on lies crumbles under truth. Serena's triumph, from exposing their Brooklyn land theft to building the Duval Justice Fund, screams one truth. You don't just survive injustice, you reshape it. Her legacy, etched in Duval Tower, isn't about wealth. It's about lifting those crushed by greed, proving that true strength rises from pain, not privilege. For every soul told they don't belong, Serena's story roars, "You are enough." What hit you hardest? Was it Serena's steel-eyed defiance, her takedown of the Caldwells, or the hope she sparked for Brooklyn's families? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share what stirred your heart or fired you up. Have you faced a moment where you had to fight to prove your worth? Tell us your story. Let's build a community that lifts each other up. Your voice matters, just like Serena's. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and join us for more stories that rip the mask off power's ugly face. These tales aren't just entertainment, they're a call to stand tall, no matter who tries to push you down. Thank you for watching, for feeling this with us. Your support fuels these stories, and we're grateful for every one of you. Until next time, keep fighting for your truth. Keep rising from the ashes. We'll see you soon with another story that cuts deep and doesn't look away. Stay fierce.